Okay, so we're gonna go over a technique that I like to use to answer the door. I mean, you guys can use this when you're leaving the office to help the dogs understand that they need to stay back away from the door. If they're already at the door and we kind of try to shove them back, the only times dogs really shove each other is when they're about to mount another dog or if they're playing. So the energy you give with a shove is not an assertive command. Now, I'm gonna use it here. You can also use this in this traditional context. When people ring the doorbell or knock, our dogs typically bark and rush the door. As humans, we have a tendency to rush the door as well. That tells the dogs, whoever this person is that's outside is making the human upset. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go answer the door, but before I open it, I'm gonna move the dogs away. And then I'm gonna use the third consequence that we went over earlier to walk backwards. All right, there we go. So if you wanna come up over here and just kind of stand about there, you can watch me. So again, I'm not rushing to the door. Once I turn and face the dogs, now I'm gonna start walking at them. Now I'm gonna try it, well, there we go. Now I just focus on one dog at a time. All right, now I have them both across the lines. So now I'm a goalie. I'm not gonna let them cross. Sit, I can take a step backwards. But a step backwards can be interpreted as the dog as an invitation to come forward. There we go, sat down, so I can take a big step. I pause here and I read the dogs. If they stay in place, I take another step. Now I would prefer that she is knocking and ringing the door a little bit more. That's my way of saying no. Now I'm hissing a little bit more than I would like. But the idea is they cannot cross this line, and as soon as they react to it, that's when I disagree. That's harder with two dogs. But I don't disagree until they cross the line. I pause and read the dogs. If the dogs stay in place, then I can take another step backwards. There you go. Sit, I can take a big step back. Now when I get to the door, there are certain sounds that precede the door opening. So I want to break it down in individual steps so the dog can process it and understand just because the door, that's the sound, doesn't mean I can rush the door. Then I go to this one. And then I'm going to move myself this way. I'm going to open the door a crack. It's a good door. It's a good seal. And this, we have a security alarm. That was a great, there we go. So now I can take multiple steps. I'm going to open the door behind me. And I understand this isn't going to be something applicable at work all the time. You just keep your hips pointed towards them the first couple times. Then I can walk back. Oh, that's great. I can invite you, hey, come on into your own house. They're not allowed to cross the threshold. So if you have a client who is not a dog person, the dogs stay behind that border. They can come in and drop off a check, whatever it is. You can have a conversation with them, and then when they leave, they can't interact with the guests until the guests cross the threshold. Now, if I turn my hips this way, now my authority is going here. So if I turn sideways to them to talk to my client, I watch them out of the corner of my eye, and as soon as they come forward, then I rush towards them, and I stop rushing once they get across the line. So again, the timing has to be impeccable. You have to immediately respond. What I would suggest you guys do, practice it with each other. Or, you said there's a third person in the office. Have them come and knock like crazy. Now, people normally don't knock, they just come on in. But at first I would do the knock, and this is really what I do typically more in a home setting. But it teaches the dog, again, there's nothing but air between them and the door, so they have to restrain themselves. Now, for you guys, when you have, is there a security alarm, or is there any sound that happens when the door at the office opens?
There's a bell, kind of.
Well, then you can teach them when they hear the bell, if they go to Money, the dog bed that you guys have, maybe there's a treat that waits for them. So we condition them, they hear the bell, and they run away from the door, as opposed to towards it. But the first step would be just simply to claim the area around the door, the way I've shown in this video. You'll be able to watch it later on. And then this way they understand, when somebody comes to the door, our job is to come right here and say, hey, you gonna go get that? But I'm here, waiting here, and then I'm gonna let the human walk ahead of me, and the humans handle it. So this is basically one of my favorite exercises to do, because usually in the home setting like this, it only takes about 6 to 12 times.
We have a little bit of might have to do something different. Right now we have the whole front of the building is glass.
Okay.
So they have a bed because they can watch out
Sure.
all the time. So when somebody comes, they're already by the bed. So
okay.
might
I would look for maybe another, and this, we wouldn't want to let the dog creep up. That was, no, it's fine. That's like, but I just want to make sure this video you guys understand. So what I would maybe do is look for a different place to put the dog bed. Security is handled by a senior or an authority figure dog. So if they're in the front, I understand they enjoy doing that, but if they're puppies, you know, and they think, well, I'm also in charge of security, that can lead them to get the wrong impression that they have more rank than they actually do. So it's possible to move the bed to a different location, or maybe they have two beds. And then, you know, again, you just, so if I'm doing the bell, what I would do is get another bell that makes the same sound. And then at first I would just toss a treat onto the other dog bed, and the second they get it with their lips, I hit ring the bell. Just the same way I showed you with the money. And then you keep on doing that, and eventually then you can have somebody at the door, and just, you know, you're inside. You open it, and again, you just throw one treat only, so that they have a motivation to be the first dog there. So you open the door, jing, they both run over there and get the treat, and you know, then you ring you would have the bell inside a separate one. So the second they touch it with their lips, you ring the bell at the same time. So if you practice just, you know, and you might just, one of you is over there by the bell with a bell and a bag of treats, and one of you by the door, you open it, drop it.
Yeah, because they would really need to learn to do it. We don't always know when people are coming
Sure.
in, so they would really need to.
Yeah, well that way the bell just becomes a trigger. I hear the bell, there's a treat over there. Who can get it first? And then it becomes a race to go get that. So that's basically how I clean the door, and I think you can use the same technique, but for you guys, I would use this technique if you ever do happen to have the door closed, or somebody's out there and they're not coming in because they're afraid of dogs. But then I would also, once you establish this, I would start training them, same way you do for money. And that's why we have different names for each dog bed. So one is the money bed, one is the bell. Bell, kind of like the stock exchange. All right.